Three women, one night, and a mystery that has haunted Springfield, Missouri, for more than 30 years. On June 7th, 1992, Sherrill Levitt, her daughter Suzie Streeter, and Suzie's best friend Stacy McCall vanished from their home without a trace. Their cars were still in the driveway. Their purses were still inside. Even the dog was left behind. And yet, the three women were gone. To this day, their fate remains one of the most perplexing cold cases in America. This is the story of the Springfield Three. Stacy McCall was just 18 years old, fun-loving, bright, and looking forward to starting college. Her best friend, Suzie Streeter, was also 18, outgoing, with a bold personality that drew people in. Suzie lived with her mother, Sherrill Levitt, a 47-year-old single mom who worked as a cosmetologist. Friends described Sherrill as hardworking, protective, and deeply devoted to her daughter. On the night of June 6th, Stacy and Suzie had just graduated high school. They spent the evening going from one graduation party to another. The plan was for Stacy to spend the night at Suzie's house. But what began as a night of celebration would end in one of the most baffling disappearances the Midwest has ever seen. By 2 a.m., Stacy and Suzie had decided not to stay at a friend's house because it was too crowded. Instead, they drove to Suzie's home on East Delmar Street, where Sherrill was already asleep. Sometime around that night, something happened. The next morning, friends who tried to reach them grew concerned. Phone calls went unanswered. When people stopped by the house, they found the front door unlocked. Inside, the house looked almost normal, but a few small details stood out. All three women's purses were neatly lined up inside. Sherrill's car was still in the carport. Suzie's red Ford Escort was in the driveway. Stacy's Toyota Corolla was parked outside as well. Even Sherrill's Yorkshire Terrier, Cinnamon, was still in the house, shaken but alive. One of the most unsettling details was the porch light. The globe cover was shattered, with glass scattered across the steps. Some believe this was a clue, a sign of a struggle. Others think it was simply broken by accident when someone tried to fix it. Inside, nothing was stolen. There were no obvious signs of forced entry. But one thing did stand out: the house phone. A strange message had been left on the answering machine. Investigators have never publicly revealed what it said, though one officer described it as potentially important. Unfortunately, the tape was accidentally erased before police could examine it. By the afternoon of June 7th, police were on the scene. But the house had already been visited by friends and family earlier that morning, meaning the crime scene had been unintentionally contaminated. Detectives interviewed neighbors, canvassed the area, and searched the home for evidence. But with no bodies, no signs of forced entry, and no ransom note, they had little to go on. Leads trickled in, but none panned out. Over the years, thousands of tips have been submitted. Some led to dead ends. Others pointed to potential suspects. One name that surfaced was Robert Craig Cox, a convicted kidnapper and suspected murderer. At the time, Cox was living in Springfield and had a troubling history with young women. Though he was questioned, no concrete evidence tied him to the disappearances. Other theories suggested multiple perpetrators. Some believed the women were kidnapped and trafficked. Others thought the abduction was targeted, perhaps someone who knew the women personally. There were even tips about bodies being buried beneath a local hospital parking garage. Ground-penetrating radar showed anomalies, but digging was never authorized. Decades later, the mystery persists. How could three women vanish from a suburban home in the middle of the night without leaving a trace? More than 30 years have passed since that summer night in 1992. Families of Stacy, Suzie, and Sherrill continue to wait for answers. Every so often, new tips come in. Investigators say the case is still open. But without bodies, without definitive evidence, the Springfield Three remain missing. Were they kidnapped by someone they trusted? Taken by a stranger? Or silenced because they knew too much? Until the truth is uncovered, the home on East Delmar Street will forever echo with a mystery of three lives cut short, and a question that still haunts Springfield. Where the Springfield Three?